Good morning, Poet fans. Welcome to another edition of Coach's Corner here this morning. I'm Lance Franey, Associate Athletic Director for Communications here at Whittier College. And today's session is head football coach Mike Neale. Mike, thanks for joining me here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Lance.
So we have quite a few questions here to discuss with you. We've had a number of fall coaches here on Coach's Corner with us already. And, of course, I always like to start the session off with this first general question. How has life been during quarantine? You have a new addition to your family with the new baby. How has that been? And kind of what else have you been up to?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely some strange times for all of us. And fortunately, the family and myself, we're all doing well from a health standpoint, which is all you can really ask during this standpoint. And as you mentioned, we have the new addition, our 11-month-old baby daughter, Grace. And it's been great from the standpoint of me being able to spend a lot more time with her than I ever would typically, especially as we would be in training camp right now and probably would not see her at all. So that's the bonus that's being quarantined, is having the availability to spend a little more time with her. So that's been nice.
Yeah, and have you been able to be pretty productive at home?
Have been. Yeah, it's something where obviously completely different, as I just mentioned, typically and kind of hit home last week when we would have been starting training camp on Wednesday. And instead of getting things rolling, we're still just working from a distance remotely. But hey, we've been able to do some things to help prepare as far as whenever we do get to go ahead to get back in the same room with our guys, and whether it's going over things to, again, grow as a person, as a football coach as well, and then from a recruiting standpoint also.
So moving into the second question, since you can't see your athletes in person right now, and it's not going to happen here in the fall, how do you keep them motivated and ready for the upcoming season?
Right. Definitely a challenge, no doubt about it, because our guys are competitors. I think like most college athletes, they train for the season. Obviously, that's what you want to have happen, and certainly didn't go the way our guys had hoped or the way we'd planned working through the spring. And that being said, to have your season taken away is never easy. But really, we look at it as an advantage. We try to take everything that happens, turn it to our advantage. And what it does is gives us an opportunity to prepare even more so that we can be in the best physical shape, the most mentally prepared team possible whenever we are allowed to get back on the field. So we're using it, again, as an advantage for us to become the most prepared team possible.
Okay. The fall season, like we all know, has been postponed with all the announcements that's been coming out for the entire conference. But the season has the potential to be played in the spring, in the start of the new year. We're about 4 to 5 months away from that competition. And how do you stay focused for that? Positive, like how do you stay positive on recruiting, working with your coaching staff, your players, and then getting back to a new normal in the new year?
Right. And starting out from a recruiting standpoint, I think this is another advantage for us and our staff is, and typically at this point, we'd be doing very little recruiting right now, as we'd be doing football from early till late, 7 days a week. But on the flip side, now we have a lot more time. So we're able to review a ton of film, had more contact actually with recruits than what I've typically had and what we've had as a staff at this point. We're doing some different things, and we'll be launching some virtual visits with our recruits here coming up as well. And fortunately, I think at this point from a recruiting standpoint is the fact that the majority of high school football players across the country have also had their season postponed. So they have a lot of time. It's uncharted territory for them as well. So been able to have guys get ahead of the ball game as far as getting their application started and turned in without opening up on August 1st as well. So we're excited about the jump we have on recruiting, looking forward to bringing in the best class ever in the class of 21. So that's been great for us.
And, one of the questions I really like to touch upon is the academic piece. You've brought the right fit guys into this program. You've really turned this program around since you started here at Whittier. And you had a team GPA over a 3.0, just like all the other programs here at Whittier College. I mean, what have you been doing to help with that success?
Yeah, really excited about that and extremely proud of our team and what our young men were able to accomplish there in the classroom. And really kind of starts with the recruiting piece and finding the right people. And those are some of the things that we look for, very important to us, is that not only does a young man have to have the love for football, which is paramount to him being successful as a football player, but more importantly, he has to have a love for his education and want to embrace the challenges of a tough institution like Whittier College and embrace that challenge of being the best student that he can. And so we have the right people on our roster, which is exciting. And what we've done is, as we get to know our players better, working with them individually to help them, again, take advantage of all the resources that we have on campus, challenge, motivate them so that they can get the education that ultimately they came here for and graduate with that meaningful Whittier degree in 4 years.
Absolutely. Now, things are going to be different when we do return to competition, hopefully in the springtime. What are some areas that you think might be different when you approach practices and games? Because, again, that's going to be completely different with how we approach that. Are you going to be doing smaller groups, individual one-on-ones, more rotational kind of stuff? And then also let's talk about the dates in the fall that you're allotted with your team and kind of how that will break down.
Right. And so we're going to be as productive as we can this fall. And ultimately that'll be decided here. I think within the next couple of weeks, we'll have our full calendar set as far as maximizing the days that are allowed. A lot of that's going to depend as well, obviously, on what we are allowed to do in the spring. If we do, as you mentioned, have a spring season, save plenty of dates for that so that we can make the most out of those and play as many games and practices as possible. But we're going to be as productive as we can this fall. And whether that be virtually meeting, working out some sort of workouts for our guys to do, whatever the case may be, we're going to be on top of things so that, again, we can be the most prepared team mentally and physically. So that'll be different for us. We're really kind of treating it as what we had in the spring, which gave us a little bit of a head start. Once we were forced to miss spring practice and go remote for that. And so we're going to really kind of continue with that game plan throughout the fall. The number of days that are still to be determined by us as we're working through that calendar. But we're excited, again, to have the opportunity to become master craftsmen of what we do positionally and from a unit standpoint to be the best group out there on the field. And there will be, I'm certain, whenever we are allowed back on the field, some distinct differences, as you mentioned. One of the things that it's kind of nice is as we were working through all the regulations that continually were coming down and changing almost on a daily basis as we were preparing and anticipating a fall season, is that we had made plans already as far as breaking things down into smaller groups. And I don't know, obviously, I can't foresee with the crystal ball what things will be like when we do get back in the spring, but we will most likely have to adjust, and instead of full team meetings, having just position group meetings only, or whatever the case may be. To keep everyone safe and healthy first and foremost, but also be as productive as possible.
Now, it is going to be a fluid situation. Things are always changing constantly, day by day, week by week. And, there are a lot of positives, heading into this, by the end of this year, a lot of positives, moving forward for us to be able to have a season in the spring, hopefully. Now, let's talk about some of your new players that are coming in. Did you have a successful offseason with recruits? Are you going to continue to have that competition with those newcomers coming in? And then are you excited about this new group of players that you have?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're extremely excited. Our goal from a recruiting standpoint every year is to bring in the best class that Whittier College has ever had. And I think we achieved that goal again this past season in the class of 20. So we're pumped up to get those guys around us. And now we can start working with them, again, whether it be virtually through sharing playbooks, film, whatever the case may be, digital instruction set. Those guys are really going to have a head jump as far as where they would typically be as freshmen. And by the time they get on the field, again, hopefully this upcoming spring, they'll have had a whole semester's worth of kind of off-season work to grow physically so that they're not just an 18-year-old who just graduated high school a couple months ago. They'll have been able to get a full fall of workouts. And then also from a mental standpoint, we'll be able to work with those guys so that the playbook's not brand new to them whenever we are able to sit in the same room and meet with them. So they'll have a physically and mentally, which I think will give them, as you mentioned, competition, which is what we all better, and that we can collectively and individually achieve more by competing. We'll bring out the best out of us rather than being on our own individually. So we're pumped up to get those guys with us, give them a fair and equal opportunity to compete from day one to the day they graduate. And they're going to have a great opportunity with a head start to where most freshmen are coming in. So looking forward to getting those guys on campus, getting after it with them as well.
And what's great about, some of these newcomers that you have a lot of core veterans coming back on this team, including, you got Rotana as a running back, you've got Hakeem Williams, Moises Gonzalez, you got Miguel Avina, you've got some veteran leadership there to actually help those newcomers coming in and get used to the system.
We're excited again. You're absolutely right. Yeah, there's a lot of great young men coming back, the most men who we returned to our roster, and that experience and leadership really from top to bottom is what's going to help us take that next step, I believe, as a program. And we're thrilled. Again, we have guys who love football, which is important, especially during these times. Certainly, I think this cancellation of season for almost every college football program across the country is going to expose those who just play for the games, because there's no games. That ultimate reward of being able to suit it up and play against an opponent on Saturday isn't there in the fall of 2020. So we have the right guys who love football. And again, we're using this as an advantage so that whenever we do get back together, it would be this spring, fall of 21, we're going to get after it, and excited to have those guys with us with that veteran presence that you mentioned.
Now, it's a great segue to this final question. With that veteran leadership, you collected 3 wins on the schedule last year, all 3 coming in the first 5 games, the most wins since 2012. One of the wins included a tight shoes game victory over Occidental, and you had opportunities against Lewis and Clark and Pomona-Pitzer to grab another 2 wins. What confidence does this give you heading into this upcoming year, and is the team moving in the right direction?
Right. Great question. Yeah, we're excited about where the program's moving right now. And it's something we've been building towards. And by no means, don't get me wrong, 3 wins, as you mentioned, since 2012. That's great, but we're not satisfied. It's not the goal. We want to be 1-0 each and every Saturday and reach our full potential over the course of the season. And I believe that our team right now, with the makeup that we have, our potential is through the roof, which is extremely exciting to be around. Again, because of the veteran presence that we have, the addition of the new class, like you just said right there, and we're going into some big places right now as a program, which is exciting to be. And I think we'll be extremely competitive moving forward with the guys that we have and the staff that we have as well. And I couldn't be more thrilled to get after it whenever we do get back together.
Well, fingers crossed about the spring. One of the things I actually didn't touch upon is, are you excited about your coaching staff that you have right now? You have a new defensive coordinator in right now. Do you have any other new additions with the staff helping you?
Yes, we have a couple new additions. As you mentioned, Ivan Cordova, our defense coordinator, and just a great coach. And when I talk about being a great coach, I don't just mean X's and O's around the field, but when I look at guys who fit what we're looking for here at Whittier College to add to our football program, it's guys who can build relationships, know their football, are great teachers, great recruiters, and care about our young men first and foremost. That's a priority. And I'm excited about the guys we've brought in and to get them working with our players as well.
Great. Well, one of the big things, again, like I said, fingers crossed for the spring. Hopefully we'll be able to get out there and play. And right now things are, looking positive, for that to happen. How excited are you that the Chargers are out there practicing now?
Yeah. It's great, right? Not the San Diego Chargers anymore, but no, It's good to see some football going on, no doubt about it. I think we all need it as sports fans as well as society. I think it's great to see some sports and certainly having baseball and basketball and hockey back and golf, just to see people out there competing and to see some football will definitely be exciting. I think not just for our country, but especially as a football guy. And so it's good to see those little clips of them practicing and throwing pads on and playing some football. It is possible, and we're looking forward to getting back and adding to that whenever we can.
Okay. Well, Mike, thanks again for joining me here on the Coach's Corner. Next week, we're going to be having another coach hopping on with me to answer a few questions. Again, Mike, stay safe. Enjoy the time with your family during this period. And, we'll see you soon here getting ready for the next football season.